Hi, everybody, and welcome to our session today. I'm honored to be here with all of you, actively exploring the future rather than passively watching it unfold. And sitting here today means acting rather than reacting. Because right now, while we're sitting here, AI systems are processing millions of operations, Bitcoin is settling billions in value without banks, yet most boardrooms are still operating with 20th century playbooks. We are witnessing one of the most profound economic transitions in history, a move from a debt-based industrial economy toward a fast, energy and information-driven digital economy, powered by AI and Bitcoin. Let's consider this. AI acts as a workforce without people, removing human bottlenecks at scale. Bitcoin provides value without borders or debt, enabling decentralized internet-native money and, with its fixed supply, a deflationary foundation that rewrites the rules of value itself. Traditional economic indicators like GDP, employment, and interest rates no longer tell the full story. This is what one of the most influential economists of the early 20th century and Harvard professor Joseph Schumpeter called creative destruction. Capitalism reinventing itself by dismantling old systems to make way for the new. Now, to decode the shift with me, I've invited these two brilliant minds, Alex and Isabel. Welcome and thank you for joining me today. Do you want to say something about...
Yes, I think you're in the right panel, and I think Anna initiated that we talk not just about AI, but about AI and Web3. It rhymes so nicely in German. To me, together, it's the next generation internet. And with all the hype about AI, of course, AI is revolutionary and big, but more quietly, there is a revolution going on with regard to Web3, and the two are actually complementary, and we'll investigate how.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Mark Andreessen said software is eating the world, and wherever software is, there will be and already is AI making much smarter decisions. And I think there's many dimensions. One aspect of smart AI, it's much less or not emotional. So emotionally driven decisions by us, by humans, often are not the good decisions. And the bridge to Bitcoin is, I think it's really important to understand that we live in a highly inflationary world. So 40 years ago, I was delivering newspapers, and I was making 10 marks an hour. And an ice cone...
So 5 euros, right?
5 euros. An ice cone was 15 cents, 30 pfennig. So I could buy 33 ice cones from 1 hour delivering newspapers. If you deliver newspapers today, you make 12 euros minimum wage. And an ice cone, especially in Munich, is maybe 2 euros. So
no, it's higher.
Yeah, exactly.
He's from Bonn.
Yeah. So
it's 5 euros here, Alex.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So the point.
See, 5 euros.
So the point really is, 1 hour of work bought you 33 ice cones 40 years ago. Today it buys you 6 or even less ice cones. And that's what inflation does. You get less for 1 hour of work, especially if you work at the lower end. So Bitcoin could be the solution because it's limited to 21 million. It's not inflationary. It cannot be inflated. The rules cannot be changed. And that's huge.
So you think that's the blind spot that society has about this shift?
I think the blind spot is that we don't understand the effects of inflation fully. One effect is you cannot leave your money in the bank. You have to invest it. Even if you don't want to make a return, you just want to keep the purchasing power, it's not possible because inflation eats up the purchasing power. So you have to invest, people buy apartments, buy stocks, and the demand, some part of the demand for the apartments comes not because people want to invest in apartments, just because people want to save their purchasing power. So that will change. That's the blind spot. And the blind spot is also that the lower end of the income scale suffers highly from inflation. And clearly with all disruptive innovations, we don't know the effects in advance because they're just unforeseeable. So there's many blind spots in the future.
So do you think that the AI and Bitcoin era is just another tech wave, or is it something with...
No, we have to be fair. I think AI is special in that everyone could Google Scholar up probably by now hundreds of studies showing productivity increases with double digits. And I've never seen study after study after study on Web3 or the metaverse or the internet that shows if you just give people that technology, there is the potential to increase productivity by 40, 50, 60%. It doesn't always happen in reality, which will be investigated, but the potential is there that makes AI very special. That would be the equivalent, the natural growth of productivity in the EU region is 0.8% per year. So if the studies hold true that if you employ AI in your company and you get a 50% productivity increase, that would be the equivalent of 60, 70 years of natural productivity growth. And of course, that's huge, and I've not seen that with other hyped technologies.
Yeah. You probably know Moore's law. For 40 years, the processing power of processors has doubled, driving lots of innovation. And people were wondering how long this will continue. And I say this will stop, it will accelerate. AI will accelerate innovation, productivity growth will increase. And so the changes we've seen in the past were slow. So the pace of innovation was never as fast as today. It will never be that slow. It will continuously accelerate.
Absolutely. To add on that point, there are already job ads out there that say, please only apply if you are an AI agent. So if Alex and I thought, oh, we can do this job, we want to make something on the side, probably for you to invest in some cryptocurrency, then they would say, no, you have to be an AI agent. But if we enter an era where AI recruits other AI agents, then we're talking about exponential organizations, exponential processes that used to take maybe weeks, new market introductions, they could be done within hours potentially, because there's no limit on that you are fatigued, you have to go home, Arbeitsschutzgesetz, what is this? So you can only work 40 hours a week. We have this at university. And all of that would be gone. And then, to your point, of course, we would have much greater increase in growth and development.
So, but let's go back to the economy. If the industrial age measured wealth in factories and oil, what will the digital age be measured in, and how will that change who holds power?
I think the common denominator of both AI and Bitcoin and crypto is energy.
Yes.
You need so much energy
Yes.
for AI, which is very unfortunate in Germany because we do have energy, but it's expensive and it won't become cheap in the next 10 to 20 years until renewables and all the infrastructure are really built out. And until then, it will be expensive, so it will be a drag on actually our competitiveness. And so the measurement, I think, the one key measurement will be the availability and the price of energy. And for Bitcoin, you also need that. Bitcoin mining is a very energy-intensive process, which is positive. It's not a bug, it's a feature. And it's also the underlying power of Bitcoin.
And AI.
And AI, yes.
So let's talk about the rails of the new economy. Alex, while everyone's debating crypto, there is a new thing called stablecoins. So they are quietly becoming infrastructure. So I want to ask you, what are they and what role do they actually play for this new economy and this transition?
So Bitcoin is not stable in the short term. It fluctuates sometimes like 10, 20%, even in a day. In the long run, it's also not stable. It goes up. So there's no 4-year period where Bitcoin has gone down in its short history. Might change in the future. It's not stable. It goes up in the long run. And that's maybe not comfortable for us because it's difficult to calculate in the short term. So stablecoin is really a coin that's backed by a euro or a dollar, and that's much better than the traditional euro or dollar because the stablecoin operates on the blockchain, which is a new financial infrastructure worldwide, much quicker to transfer, much easier, lower cost. So the current financial infrastructure is old. It's 40, 50, 60 years old. Mainframe, COBOL programs. You can trade stocks in 27% of the time of the week, in Germany from 9 to, I don't know, 4 or 5. And then you cannot trade it overnight, not on the weekend. So stablecoin is a payment currency infrastructure that allows around-the-clock payment. In the US, they're using private stablecoins, Tether. And Tether is a company with like around 100 people making 20 billion profit a year, very profitable. And Donald Trump just outlawed central bank digital currencies. And in Europe, we go the exact other direction. The European Central Bank is focusing central bank digital currencies, and that might be useful, but there also might be a tool for surveillance and control. We can see that in China. If you're not behaving well, you cannot buy a train ticket because your social score gets connected to the wallet. It's digital, it's programmable, and then it restricts you from doing certain purchases. So it could be a very dystopian future. We see it a little bit in China today, maybe in Europe also.
Just a quick question. Who has heard of stablecoins already?
Very educated.
Who has Bitcoin?
Okay.
Very good.
And who has a crypto wallet?
Everyone.
Very good.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a statistic out there for the US that more people hold Bitcoin than gold. I was surprised by that. So. Percentage. So you ask about why we need maybe stablecoins or CBDC. I mean, I think it's still true today. If you wanted to send money to China, it would be faster to actually take out cash, put it into a FedEx box, and FedEx it overnight, the cash to China, than it would be to use the existing legacy banking system because of all the correspondence banks, the settlement issues, and that will not hold. That will have its Skype moment. Some of you are old enough to remember it used to cost a lot of money if you dialed across national borders for no reason whatsoever, no technical reason, and then Skype appeared, and now we don't pay just because we call someone in Poland or in another country, and that will certainly happen with our money system. It will be an upgrade of our monetary system. A practical example, we had a designer in the Philippines doing some work for us at the university, and we wanted to pay him. And I thought I was very smart. I said, okay, I will PayPal him, and I'll have the university reimburse me. So I PayPal'd him. So, 1,000 euros were gone out of my account. The money didn't arrive because they did some checks, and they told us they're not sure. He didn't have a bank account, so no traditional possibility. But I thought, okay, he has an email. So with PayPal, it's fine. No, it took weeks until the money arrived. So the next time I'm paying him or someone else in these countries, we will use a stablecoin.
Or Bitcoin.
Or Bitcoin, perhaps. Yeah, but you talked about the fluctuations. So it makes no sense. And also when you think about immigrant workers who go to other countries, send money home, they use services like TransferWise, and they take a big chunk, just for intermediating, 20, sometimes 30%, and it takes weeks to arrive. There is no technical reason, and that's why I think in the end physics always wins. We will see an upgrade.
I think very briefly, I think that the current financial system, it is digital because it's not physical paper money. It's digital numbers in a bank account, but it's not really digitized. It's like the process of sending money or handling money is like printing the newspaper. It's slow, it's cumbersome, it's outdated. So it looks as if it was digital, but it's not really because it has very many breaks and it's expensive actually also. So it's not really digital.
That sounds like we're going on an energy standard, which would be a new economic standard. So I wanted to ask you, Alex, economics has always been driven by scarcity, but could that change now with AI and Bitcoin?
I mean, AI, Isabel talked about huge productivity gains, and that will set up resources. And of course, in the short term, that doesn't feel nice. It feels unpleasant. People will lose their job. Obviously, call center agents will lose their job. Designers will lose their job. Many people will lose their job. So it would be a huge mistake to think that's bad, because if you think back about the agriculture nation that we used to be a few hundred years ago, 70-80% of the people were working in agriculture. Today, 3-5%, very few. So are 80% of the people unemployed? No, they're not. They found new tasks, and I think the abundance of AI will free up resources for new things to do. Whatever that will be. I think the human mind is very creative, finding new things to explore, new things to invent, new borders to move. So some things will be abundance. Today, information is abundant. It used to be very scarce. And what do we do with the information? We become smarter, we communicate, we know more, we learn more, we're quicker. This is the AI side. The Bitcoin side will take away the abundance that's being created through printing money. So the euro has been expanded since it was introduced 2002 with like 5 to 6% per year. So the euro is being created, it's being printed through the financial system, through various mechanisms, and that creates an abundance of money, which creates increases in prices, significant increases in prices. I used to live here in Munich 20 years ago, and an apartment at the English Garden, Königinstraße, we almost bought it, we didn't, was 4,000 euros per square meter. Today it's 20,000 euros. It's the same apartment. The city grew, there's a little bit more demand, yes, but it's also inflation. So money will be scarce through Bitcoin, and that will have very positive impact on how we spend money and how we treat it and how we invest and everything.
And how does that change if energy becomes the base layer of value? How does that redefine how we measure economic strength?
Yeah, economic strength, it will still be measured in fiat terms, maybe also in Bitcoin terms. But I think a new indicator, a new KPI will be the availability and the price of energy. And energy consumption is not bad. There's a very strong positive correlation. A society that uses more energy is wealthier. And that's a very, and it's not bad to use energy. The question, of course, is how is that energy being created? Is it burning coal, or is it nuclear, which is clean but maybe dangerous, or is it renewable, which is clean but maybe not in the long term when you recycle all this stuff? So it's not a clear cut, but using energy is positive. If you don't use any more energy, we're dead. We don't live.
So, okay, and if the economy no longer runs on debt because we have like a deflationary monetary system.
I mean, AI is deflationary, right?
Yes.
If productivity goes up, we have political trends where we have inflation, but then AI and robotics possibly combined is deflationary. I don't know if they will level out, or if maybe AI increases productivity so much that in the end we have a deflationary tendency.
And what is the most dramatic change that you foresee for that scenario?
Well, there are many dramatic trends we could foresee easily, socially, politically. You asked earlier about who holds power in this development. I taught a class some weeks ago, and the students asked me not about the dangers of AI, they asked me what are the dangers of blockchain and Web3, and I had to think about it. And then my answer to that would be, well, it's that, you know, in a blockchain, everything's on record. You can look it up. We're transparent, right? Is a strength, but a strength can be a weakness. And so I would be afraid of malicious actors, maybe at the state level, that have access to everything you've ever done, everything you've ever bought. As you said, you cannot board a plane or a train anymore. Sorry, your social credit score. That would be a dramatic potential shift. If you think about in combination with AI, we just took a trip to Silicon Valley, and at NVIDIA they showed us videos of people working in a storage where they were transporting goods, and a worker dropped it, and they said, oh, we can identify him and link it to his personal record, just like that. And it was a very positive sentiment, and I, being the German in the room, thought, but what about data protection? What does the Workers' Council have to say about it? You know, of course there is no Workers' Council there. So that is something I would imagine. I mean, if we're going to be dramatic, of course. I think there is the potential that maybe in 60 years there'll be less humans because, of course, AI, if you listen to Eliezer Yudkowsky, he has a great TED Talk. If you need to stay awake at night driving your car, listen to his TED Talk. The TED Talk is called We're All Gonna Die. And he's a very smart researcher. He explains the various ways how AI could end humanity. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's an interesting talk if you want to think about dramatic impacts, potential dramatic impacts.
With the birth rates below reproduction rate worldwide, with a few exceptions, I think we're ending ourselves anyway, just so peaceful, not having enough children, and then maybe there's non-peaceful. I think AI will make intelligence abundance, and that will lead to a better world. And I think humans are both. They're extremely intelligent and smart and great, but they're also extremely stupid. And just looking at military conflicts, it's not smart. It's very stupid because no one wins, and you destroy lives and generations. You create traumas. So having abundant intelligence, I think, at least in our lifespan, is very positive. It will lead to a better world. And having scarce money, not abundant inflationary money, scarce money like Bitcoin, which is limited to 21 million and cannot be changed, I think that's positive. Because if you have less money, you're not wasting it on cheap stuff you don't need. You're more careful spending and investing it.
But if we don't have that much money anymore and we don't have that many people working, what is the new engine of profit then?
I think,
I think some things will remain scarce. Now, Reid Hoffman has made the prediction that with robotics and AI in 2030, no one needs to work anymore. We'll have universal basic income. So a very common sentiment in Silicon Valley right now, I found. Now, if that's true, but some things will remain valuable. What are they? I don't have the answer to that. Perhaps Bitcoin, perhaps land, because it's limited, perhaps tourist destinations. Now imagine you don't have to work anymore. Where do you want to spend your free time? I think Europe would be a good player for that, by the way. Yeah, we have history, we have culture, we have beautiful nature, maybe that, and you can't endlessly replicate that. So it's well worth to think about what will be scarce and therefore have value. Also talent. AI leverages talent, makes you even better. Yeah, if you can use the AI and instruct it. So unless we end up with genetic modification, talent is unevenly distributed and will remain valuable.
Also, classical answer: capital will be the engine of profit. If you look at the big tech companies, for example, Google, they make 30 billion profit per quarter. That's more than SAP does revenue in a full year. So with that power, with that huge pools of capital and profitability, that will enable them to drive forward in many directions. I mean, flying to Mars, creating outer space, curing diseases, and many things. So I think capital still matters. So that's why saving makes a lot of sense, because when you save for a while, you have capital. We're in a huge disadvantage in Germany because the pension system is not saving. It's just redistributing money from the working to the pensioners. And
sounds like a Ponzi.
Which it is actually. So, but the capital base that I save for retirement, that capital then will be used for smart investments, and those smart investments create more productivity, more capital. So I think capital is still important, very important.
But what do, Isabel, what do traditional companies need right now to survive in this shift, and what happens if they don't adapt?
Well, most companies don't survive. If you look back, it's the exception that companies are around. It really is. Only 10% of the big Fortune 500s from 1960 are still around today. From a Schumpeterian perspective, it's not a catastrophe. Capital is allocated to managers, entrepreneurs with better product market fit. So the assumption is probably most organizations will not survive in the way we know them. That's the way we adapt. What you can do today, of course, is to ask yourself, is your business model AI ready? What would a competitor need to do to really take away market share? And then you have to go and do that yourself. But for a lot of companies, there's a lot of resistance. Then, of course, you have sometimes laws that help companies adapt and laws that don't. And we tend to have more laws that make adaptation more difficult in Europe.
Just to complement one aspect, old companies die. Like, forest, trees, old trees die. And that's why it's very important that there's young ones coming up. So startups are really important because old companies maybe die and then there's young companies.
How are we doing there?
Yeah, so we're doing really well, especially in Munich and Berlin, but all over Germany. And we have great, very competitive startups. The big challenge is we sell them. We don't take them public so that in the long term, new big companies are being created. There's 3 decacorns in Germany since '72. It's SAP, BioNTech, and Hensoldt, companies that consistently have a valuation over 10 billion, which is a lot, but not really a lot. So there's not enough big companies being created. So what do you need for that? Many things, but one aspect would be a much stronger capital market, strong market. That's why the capital union in Europe could be important. That's why saving is important, because then there's capital that could invest, finance, IPOs. So the focus should be to create long-term new companies, startups that are not being sold for a quick profit to whoever, to American or whatever companies, but the focus must be to create new companies for the long term.
And what is the value of people like us?
What's your? Well, I have 20 years of startup investment experience, so we learn a lot, and it's very positive. I mean, what happened in Munich and Berlin and all over Germany actually is very encouraging. We have great technologies, we have great entrepreneurs, we have great successes. And I think we just have to continue going that path, being open for innovation, being open for new things, and kicking out the old stuff. I mean, there's old technologies, old business models. Kick it out, adapt the new one, and then we stay competitive.
And what are you going to do with all the free time that you get now?
I will privately invest in Bitcoin, crypto infrastructure, and AI, because I think that's the big things for the next decade to come.
Can I ask something?
Yes.
Alex and Anna also very knowledgeable on Bitcoin. So to me, there are 3 things that, obviously Bitcoin is on paper a perfect thing, an innovation, a monetary innovation we haven't seen in decades, a saving technology. But for me, 3 things always worry me. Warren Buffett, who I admire, who not just said Bitcoin is rat poison, he said it's rat poison squared. Maybe he's wrong, maybe not. And then BlackRock, now in his iShares Bitcoin Trust filing, has a passage that says if quantum computing advances further, it could be a risk that could attack the underlying safety of the Bitcoin network. Are you concerned about that? And then finally, Bitcoin is about decentralizing central banking. And I don't think personally that politics and central bankers will allow that. What's your take on that?
Well, I mean, they won't outlaw it because that hasn't happened. So the Americans didn't outlaw it. So it's. I think the legal risk is close. It's very close to zero. And if the Europeans would,
but Alex, let me tell you, if we have another presidency in the U.S., I know under Trump it won't happen. But let's say Alexandra, what's her name from the Democrats, wins in 4 years and then says no, we reverse all that.
I think the lobby in the U.S. is so strong, especially background. An idea, a superior technology, maybe you can delay it for a little bit, but you cannot kill it. An idea that's there, it's there.
And I would say Bitcoin doesn't know about politics, and Bitcoin doesn't know...
Just mines one block after the other.
It's just one block after the other, and Bitcoin doesn't care who you are, where you come from, or what perspective you have.
So a way to recognize a disruptive technology, it's very hard because it's new, and so a typical reaction to a disruptive technology is you say it's bullshit. Why is that the typical reaction? Because you don't understand it, doesn't fit your frame of reference. In the very beginning, it's not user friendly, it doesn't really work well. So Warren Buffett saying Bitcoin is bullshit is a very, very positive indicator for Bitcoin being a very disruptive. Really, totally, 100%. So and quantum computing, if quantum computing can hack the the SHA-250, 65
What about your banking
algorithm,
pin? Huh?
then every online banking, every e-commerce, every water providing company will be hacked before that. And the answer is you can introduce encryption that's quantum resistant into the Bitcoin technology. Hopefully. We don't know what the future does, but that's what the experts really say.
Yeah.
So I'm extremely bullish. Bitcoin is a new asset class that's unfolding right now. It's very tiny. It's 2 billion or 2.5 billion right now. And all the stocks is 120 billion. All the real estate is 300 billion. Gold is 24 billion. So Bitcoin is a tiny asset class. What we see is the unfolding of a new asset class. That happens every few hundred years. And I think we are at a very historic moment with Bitcoin, also a very historic moment with AI.
And can I say, I heard Alex at a conference when Bitcoin was at 10,000, and he said it'll go to 50,000. And I think no one believed you in that room, and look where we are today. So I'd always listen to what he has to say.
So I think we're running out of time. To wrap this up, what's emerging, what we could say, I think, is an economy built not on debt and delay, but on energy, information, and speed. And that's probably something we should all think about and take into consideration.
Yeah, my last word would be, I think innovation will never stop. It will always accelerate. And the best thing we can do is to adapt it, to use it, to see the opportunity and not see the problems and the challenges, everything, to embrace it and push it forward. That's, I think, the best strategy.
And you know, the 7 most expensive words for any economy and organization are, we have always done it like that.
So,
Okay, so thank you.
Anna, thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna, for suggesting this great panel.